Here we are for another round of the 70s versus the 90s, and it's a parody on modern Hollywood when I put Joe Dante and Allan Arkush's Hollywood Boulevard against John Madden's Shakespeare in Love. And now, this one is kind of pushing it, you know, parody on modern Hollywood. One of them is very obviously a parody, the other one, very subtle. And definitely a matchup that I didn't think was going to be a hard decision. Turns out it is. The more I do these, the more they surprise me. Maybe I've cleansed my palate. I don't know. But it's definitely some things that I thought would win, don't. And shit that I didn't think had a snowball's chance in hell. Turns out I'm going to be praising it. So maybe that's a spoiler. Let's see if y'all can guess what the fuck I chose for this. Because this matchup in general is, you're probably thinking to yourself, this motherfucker is crazy. Now, that should already be validated because of this tinsel wig on my head. But let's just dive right on in to this very bizarre matchup. First up, we have Joe Dante and Allan Arkush's Hollywood Boulevard. Now, before this was their directorial debut, that before they directed this movie, they were trailer editors for Roger Corman and New World Pictures. And if you have seen any of the trailers for the films that Roger Corman released through New World Pictures, you would know that is an art form in and of itself. Trailer editing is something that is taken for granted because a very well edited trailer can do wonders to boost your movie, and especially for shit like Corman put out in those days, you really needed that marketing. And now, what Corman did with Arkush and Dante is similar to what he did with Bogdanovich when he had made Targets. Is he had a bunch of leftover footage that he gave to these motherfuckers, and they crafted this very brilliant parody on not just low budget guerrilla filmmaking, but New World Pictures in and of itself. If you know anything about Roger Corman and New World Pictures, you will definitely see the similarities to it. And the film centers around this young actress that comes to town. What is her name? Candice Rialson is the actress that plays her. Candy's the name of the character. And of course, like every fucking story of actress coming to Hollywood, she always is met with resistance. Some of it pretty funny because she ends up, starting out, she's a getaway driver for a couple of bank robbers and stuff. But the real shining star of this picture is Dick Miller as Candy's agent. Dick Miller, one of the greatest character actors of all time, and he would become a staple in Joe Dante movies. I believe he's damn near every Joe Dante movie, from like Gremlins to Small Soldiers. And simply brilliant. He definitely was in a lot of Roger Corman movies too, most notably A Bucket of Blood, which he is absolutely brilliant in. And then, of course, Paul Bartel plays the director. Paul Bartel was also a director. He directed Death Race 2000 for Roger Corman and Cannonball. And, of course, his masterpiece, Eating Raoul, a brilliant director and an even more prolific actor. He would pop up in random shit, even something as off the wall as The Usual Suspects. And, of course, his greatest co-star, Mary Warnoff, is in this as an actress who feels very threatened, an impending doom type shit, And the film itself, the way they incorporate the footage from the films is absolutely brilliant. The fact that they made a movie out of essentially nothing, is pretty impressive. And, those guys would go on to have an impressive career too. But the film itself is pretty basic. It does start out hilarious, but it kind of drags in the end. If you didn't have Dick Miller, Paul Bartel, and Mary Warnoff to kind of like make this movie good, it wouldn't be worth a damn, But the thing about it is like, we can talk about how impressive the crafting of this film is, but at the end of the day, is it really that good of a movie? When I first saw it, I was like, holy shit, this is fucking badass. The more I watch it, the more I'm like, it did a good job, but is this something I want to watch over and over again? And then we move on to John Madden's Shakespeare in Love, a movie that is so easy to talk shit about, because where Hollywood Boulevard is a blatant parody of New World Pictures, Shakespeare in Love is a very subtle parody of Miramax, which is the company that produced it, which was ran by a Harvey Weinstein, the notorious Harvey Weinstein, I guess, at this point. But when Shakespeare in Love came out, this was his full David O. Selznick mode, because John Madden directed this movie, but this is really Harvey's show, because, this motherfucker started out making movies that were edgy and game changing type shit. And then once Disney cut his nuts off, then he started making this geriatric dog shit. But say what you will about this geriatric dog shit, the motherfucker knew how to make a movie. Much like David O. Selznick knew how to craft shit. You put the right actors in there, you get the right director that can do. Because the thing about it is, for as auteur driven as Miramax was, there was a stable of directors that could do whatever the fuck Harvey wanted them to do. The two most notable ones were John Madden and Leslie Hallstrom. And of course, the film itself was Shakespeare in Love. It's about the writing of Romeo and Juliet. And coming from a writer's perspective, this is one of the best movies ever made about the whole writing process. I don't really know fucking Shakespeare's writing process, how he came up with the shit that he came up with, how he became the greatest writer of all time and shit. But Joseph Fiennes does do a great job playing him. And the way the creative process is, because most writers are bitch ass motherfuckers. We always need a fucking muse or we think we need a muse to create great art. And, there might be some motherfuckers that can just sit in a room and have wild imaginations and can create all this bullshit just pulled straight from their fucking arse. But some of us gotta live our fucking art and put the misery on the page. And that's exactly what Will Shakespeare does in this shit. He goes out, finds a muse, and ends up writing one of the greatest stories that ever written. Not that just he wrote, but of all time and shit. And he lived that shit because he meets this woman played by Gwyneth Paltrow, one of the two American actors in this film. Most of them are British actors, which is something I do appreciate, because that shit bugs the fuck out of me. I'm not saying like acting is acting, but I mean, me a little authenticity, because a lot of motherfuckers, one, they either don't attempt to do an accent, or two, they do and it fucking sucks ass. Now, Gwyneth Paltrow, she did win the Academy Award for this. She does nail the accent. It's not atrocious. Even Ben Affleck does a very serviceable job. Everybody in this movie is fucking great. There's not a bad performance in this film. You got Colin Firth, Lord Wessex, who's trying to marry Gwyneth Paltrow's character Viola, or Viola, however the fuck they're saying it. It sounds like Violet, but it's Viola or some shit. I don't fucking know. I'm a dumb American. I don't know how to pronounce all this shit. But that's where all the conflict of the story comes up. And Colin Firth at this time was really good at playing an uptight cuckold and everything. And you got Tom Wilkinson is basically Harvey Weinstein. You got the guy, he's like the money guy. But he really wants to be an actor, and you got Jeffrey Rush is absolutely brilliant, as Henslow or whatever the fuck, the theater owner and stuff. His comedic timing is fucking brilliant. Judi Dench is Queen Elizabeth, absolutely brilliant. And some of the other motherfuckers that I don't know, but I've seen in a million fucking English. You got fucking Arthur Weasley with that stutter, and then fucking I don't know who the fuck the one dude. Notice will be posted. That dude's in a lot of shit. He's great and everything. He's a colorful fucking Englishman. It's great, but the chemistry that Joseph Fiennes has with Gwyneth Paltrow is palpable. It's very beautiful. Like it's not just a great romance, but it's also kind of a love song to writing, and the fucking insane shit that you go through just to put on a fucking play, which is not too dissimilar to how you make a fucking movie, and that kind of wild, crazy shit. It's a movie that the more I watch it, the more it fucking charms me and it baffles me, But as much as I didn't think this would have been a hard decision, I gotta give it to Shakespeare in Love. Because one, the whole point of the 70s versus 90s, the fucking obsession, I guess the whole point of this contest, I guess is a better word for it, is which is the better movie. And I gotta say, Shakespeare in Love is the better movie. Hollywood Boulevard is more impressive. But you take Dick Miller, Paul Bartel, and Mary Warrenoff out of that movie, it ain't worth a drizzle shit. Now, the whole ensemble of Shakespeare in Love is incredible because the thing about it is, it's a actual movie. Hollywood Boulevard is a lot of random shit thrown together that turned out to be good. Shakespeare in Love was very meticulously crafted by Harvey Weinstein. It was very much emulating his brethren, David O. Selznick, and crafting the backseat directing, if you will. And putting Miramax's sweetheart Gwyneth Paltrow in there, molding all that shit together. It's pretty fucking impressive, because for all the shit you hear about Harvey Weinstein, think about the amount of dick he sucked just to get the Best Picture Oscar for Shakespeare in Love. I mean, that dude write a masterclass on how to manipulate the fucking Oscars. And at this point, I'm thinking, maybe it was well deserved. It is a very beautiful film, very well done. And, not just a love story, but a love song to the creative process. And, and that may be what it is. Maybe the writer in me that just loves this movie the more I see it. So this round goes to Shakespeare in Love. For anybody keeping score, that is 96-79. The 70s are up. The 70s are only up by 17 now. The 90s, man, they keep coming back with those 1-2 punches. I mean, that lead is still pretty sizable. So the 90s got to really kick a lot of ass to even tie this motherfucker up. But granted, I still got a long way to go. I got like 6 pages of these fucking matchups and shit that grows every day. I could be doing this shit till I'm in a fucking retirement home. Or I go, who knows, wherever I go through all the movies or whenever the fuck I'm satisfied, It is, we're going to keep going with it because I got to know. There's got to be a full academic, go through every single movie of the 70s and 90s just to see. Not that it fucking matters, but it matters to me. So, if I've said anything wrong, anything you disagree with, feel free to eviscerate me in the comments. This is just one asshole's opinion on a very long, self-indulgent journey to see which decade was better for movies, the 70s or the 90s. My money is still on the 70s, but the 90s got shit like Shakespeare in Love that can charm the pants off you and make you question your taste in cinema. But it is a really good movie. Not to say that Hollywood Boulevard wasn't either. But I do think Shakespeare in Love is the better movie, much to my surprise, and probably all you motherfuckers out there in internet land. So, 96-79, 70s are only up by 17 now. We're still in the heat of summer, and this one is definitely heating up. So, never underestimate the power of the pen.